Ethan Parker sat at the small kitchen table, stirring a mug of coffee that had long gone cold. The morning sunlight filtered through the dusty blinds, catching particles of dust in lazy golden lines. His daughter, Lila, was at the far end of the table, hunched over a coloring book, humming softly to herself. Life was simple, maybe too simple sometimes. But after the divorce, Ethan had grown to appreciate the quiet moments. Still, quiet could sometimes feel lonely. The phone rang, sharp and sudden, breaking the gentle rhythm of the morning. Ethan glanced at the screen. It was a number he didn't recognize. Normally, he would ignore unknown calls. Telemarketers and scammers were a daily nuisance. But something about this number felt different. "Hello?" he said, picking up the phone. "Good morning, Mr. Parker," said a voice, soft yet confident. There was a calm authority to it. The kind of voice that made you listen without questioning. "My name is Isolde. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I have something important to discuss." Ethan frowned, leaning back in his chair. "Isolde? I don't think I know you." "I understand," she said with a hint of a smile in her voice, though he couldn't see her. "But I've been following your work in small community innovations. Your ideas have a way of standing out. I believe you could help me with something very special. Something that matters." Ethan blinked. "I'm just a dad with a regular job. I don't know if I'm the right person for whatever this is." "There's only one way to find out," Isolde replied, her tone calm but insistent. "I would like to meet you in person. Nothing complicated. Just a simple conversation. Can you do that?" Ethan hesitated. Something about the voice, about the calm certainty in it, made him want to say yes, even though every instinct screamed caution. "Where?" he asked finally. "Tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m., she said. "At the house across the street from yours. I think you'll find it intriguing." The line went dead before Ethan could respond. He sat for a moment, staring at the phone. Across the street from his small, somewhat cluttered home was a new mansion he had only noticed recently, towering and sleek. It was unlike any house in the neighborhood. He hadn't realized anyone lived there. "Who even owns that place?" he murmured to himself. Lila looked up from her coloring. "Who was that, Dad?" "Just a wrong number, sweetheart," Ethan said quickly, forcing a smile. Nothing important, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it was important. The next day, Ethan found himself pacing the front yard. Lila had begged to come with him, her little backpack bouncing as she walked. He wasn't sure if it was safe, but something told him this wasn't dangerous in the usual sense. The mansion loomed across the street, its sleek white walls reflecting the sun. Ethan had walked past it before, but today it seemed alive somehow, as if it was watching him. The lawn was immaculate, with flowers of colors he didn't recognize. Tiny robots moved gently around the garden, trimming and watering without a sound. "Dad," Lila whispered, tugging at his hand. "It's huge." Ethan smiled down at her. "Yeah, it is. But we'll be fine. Just a quick visit. That's all." He rang the bell, and the door opened almost immediately. A woman stood there, tall and elegant, with eyes that seemed to see right through him. She smiled warmly. "Ethan Parker?" she asked. "That's me," he said, surprised she knew his name without an introduction. "I'm Isolde," she said, stepping aside to let him and Lila in. "Welcome." The inside of the mansion was breathtaking. The walls were lined with subtle lights that shifted colors slowly. Holographic displays floated above polished surfaces, showing rotating images of landscapes, galaxies, and complex patterns. Tiny drones hovered near the ceiling, moving gracefully like a synchronized dance. Lila's mouth dropped open. "It's magic," she breathed. "It's not magic," Isolde said, her voice gentle. "It's just technology and imagination." She gestured for them to follow her down a long hallway. "This house, it's been in my family for generations. It's meant to protect something, and sometimes it needs human minds to understand it." Ethan frowned. "Understand it? What exactly is this place?" Isolde chuckled softly. That's the question, isn't it? Let me show you. She led them into a large room filled with soft blue light. In the center, a circular platform displayed a holographic city, with buildings that shimmered like liquid metal. Tiny figures moved through streets, and drones flew overhead, following unseen paths. This, she said, is a simulation. But it's more than that. It's a tool, a puzzle, and a lesson, all in one. I've been watching humanity for a long time, studying your innovations, your creativity, the way your minds solve problems that no machine can. And I think you have something special. Ethan felt a strange mix of awe and disbelief. Me? Special? You see things differently, Isolde said, smiling. Not because you're smarter than anyone else, but because you care, and because you create solutions without being asked. You notice small details, small problems, and fix them. That's rare. Ethan, that's human. Lila stepped closer to the holographic city, her eyes wide. Can we play with it? Isolde nodded. Of course. But remember, the city reacts to your choices. Every decision changes the outcome. It's a reflection of human thought. If you and your daughter work together, you might unlock something extraordinary. Ethan laughed nervously. I don't know if I'm ready for extraordinary. Readiness is overrated, Isolde said. Curiosity is what matters. For the next hour, Ethan and Lila explored the mansion, each room revealing wonders that seemed impossible. One room was filled with floating gardens, where plants levitated gently and hummed softly. Another was a library where books flew to your hands as you asked for them. In a corner, a small robotic creature rolled over to Lila, chirping happily, making her giggle. As they wandered, Ethan couldn't help but feel a strange sense of hope. The world outside could be hard, unfair, lonely at times, but here, it felt limitless, full of possibilities, full of potential. Finally, they returned to the circular platform with the holographic city. Isolde stood nearby, watching. Tomorrow, she said, I'll show you the first challenge. It's a small test of creativity and human insight. Don't worry. There's no danger. Only discovery. Ethan glanced at Lila, who was bouncing with excitement. Discovery. Huh? He murmured. Yes, Isolde said softly. And sometimes, discovery changes everything. As they left the mansion and stepped back onto the quiet street, Ethan noticed how different the world seemed. The ordinary houses of the neighborhood suddenly looked plain, limited. The mansion, with all its wonders, was a reminder that there was so much more to life than what he had known. Lila tugged at his sleeve. Dad, can we go back tomorrow? Ethan smiled, feeling a thrill he hadn't felt in years. Yes, sweetheart. We'll go back tomorrow. That night, as Ethan lay in bed, he thought about the call, the mansion, and the woman named Isolde. Something had shifted inside him. A quiet hope, a spark of curiosity, and a sense of adventure he hadn't allowed himself to feel in years. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for the first time in a long time, he felt ready to step into something bigger than himself, something that might change everything not just for him, but for his daughter too. Outside, the mansion across the street gleamed under the moonlight, almost as if it were watching, waiting, inviting them to unlock its secrets. And Ethan knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. The morning sunlight streamed through Ethan Parker's kitchen window, casting long shadows across the floor. Lila sat at the table, eagerly finishing her breakfast. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, and Ethan could tell she was already thinking about the mansion across the street. Dad, Lila said, bouncing slightly in her chair. Can we go now? Please? I want to see the magic again. Ethan chuckled, ruffling her hair. Patience, kiddo. We'll go this afternoon. I want to be ready for whatever adventure we're stepping into. Lila grinned. Adventure. Yes, The thought of returning to the mansion filled Ethan with a mix of curiosity and unease. The previous day had been astonishing, almost dreamlike. Floating gardens, flying books, hovering holograms, it had all seemed so surreal. Yet the call from Isolde lingered in his mind. She had spoken with certainty, as if she had known him his entire life, and now she was inviting them deeper into her world. By early afternoon, Ethan and Lila were standing on the front porch of his modest house, gazing across the street at the mansion. It was brighter now under the daylight, the white walls gleaming, almost shining. A gentle hum, like distant wind chimes, seemed to come from the property, though no one else could hear it. As they approached the mansion, the front door opened before they could even ring the bell. Isolde stood there, smiling warmly. Her presence was calming and confident, as if she had been expecting them at that exact moment. "Ethan, Lila," she said, inclining her head. "Welcome back. I hope you are ready for today." "We're ready," Ethan said, stepping forward. Lila clutched his hand tightly, her small fingers curling around his with excitement and trust. "Good," Isolde replied. "Please, come in." The mansion seemed even more alive this time. Sunlight poured in through huge, clear windows, reflecting on surfaces that shimmered like liquid silver. The drones in the garden had begun performing a coordinated dance, trimming flowers in precise, beautiful patterns. Ethan couldn't help but glance at Lila, who was wide-eyed and trying to follow every movement. "This place, it's incredible," Ethan murmured. "It is," Isolde said. "But it is also a place of learning. Today, you'll begin to understand why I reached out to you." They followed Isolde down a hallway that seemed longer than it should have been. It curved gently, almost like it was guiding them toward something. Along the walls were interactive panels, each showing scenes of Earth, galaxies, and abstract patterns that shifted as they moved past. "Your world," Isolde explained, "is full of potential. Humans have creativity, empathy, and imagination in ways that no machine, no matter how advanced, can fully replicate. This mansion and the technology within it has been built to recognize that. And you, Ethan, are the first person I've met who can help unlock its purpose." Ethan felt a mix of pride and disbelief. "Me? I'm just me, a dad. I fix things around the neighborhood. I try to help kids with their school projects. That's all." "That is not all," Isolde replied softly. "It is exactly what matters. You see problems, and you solve them in ways that are creative, human, and unique. That is a skill, Ethan, a rare and valuable skill." Lila tugged on his sleeve. "Dad, can we see the puzzle now? Please?" Isolde smiled. "Soon, little one. First, let me show you something." They entered a large circular room, its floor polished and reflective. In the center floated a holographic globe of Earth. The continents shimmered in shades of blue and green, and tiny lights blinked across the surface, cities, towns, and villages alive in real time. "This," Isolde said, gesturing, "is one of many tools the mansion uses. It monitors problems, solutions, and innovations across the planet. But it is more than monitoring, it learns from humans. And today, you and Lila will interact with it in a very special way." Ethan leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. "Interact how?" "You will solve a challenge," Isolde said. "A puzzle designed to test creativity, cooperation, and insight. The mansion's systems can detect patterns, but they need human intuition to unlock their full potential. The first challenge is simple in structure, but complex in solution. Are you ready?" Ethan glanced at Lila, whose eyes shone with excitement. "We're ready," he said. The holographic globe shifted, breaking apart into floating pieces. Tiny pathways connected glowing nodes scattered across continents. A soft voice, mechanical yet gentle, began speaking. "Welcome, humans. Your task is to restore balance to the network. Observe the nodes, consider their positions, and identify the relationships that will allow harmony." Ethan frowned. "Balance to the network. Okay. But how do we know what balance is? The globe shimmered. Certain nodes pulsed brighter than others. A gentle hint appeared. Patterns are not always obvious, but human insight can see what machines cannot. And exist in, about the Sisser and the Zom, Lila tilted her head. Daddy, maybe the bright ones need to connect to each other? Ethan considered her suggestion. Maybe. But what about the dim ones? Should we leave them out? Isolde watched silently, letting them think. Use your intuition. Observe. Experiment. There are no failures, only discoveries. They spent the next hour working together. Ethan suggested connections, while Lila noticed patterns that he overlooked. Sometimes they disagreed. But every time, they discussed, adjusted, and tried again. Slowly, the nodes began to respond. Their glow stabilized, forming a flowing network that seemed almost alive. Finally, the globe pulsed with a warm golden light. The challenge had been met. Ethan and Lila stepped back, breathing heavily, but smiling. Congratulations, Isolde said, clapping softly. You have solved the first challenge. Notice how your human creativity, combined with observation and intuition, achieved what no algorithm alone could accomplish. This is the essence of the mansion's purpose. Ethan looked at Lila, who was practically bouncing with excitement. We did it, he said, laughing. Yes, Isolde said. And this is only the beginning. There are more challenges ahead, each designed to expand your understanding and test the limits of human potential. What kind of challenges? Ethan asked cautiously. Not dangerous challenges, Isolde clarified, but puzzles that require thought, empathy, and cooperation. Some will involve the mansion itself. Others will reach beyond, into your community, your world. Every step you take here prepares you for a greater purpose. Humans have a unique ability to see connections where others cannot. That is your gift. Lila tugged at his hand. Daddy, can we do the next one now? Ethan smiled, feeling pride and excitement he hadn't felt in years. Not yet, kiddo, but soon. I promise. Isolde nodded approvingly. Patience is also part of learning. Today, you've seen how your ideas and creativity interact with advanced systems. Tomorrow, you will take the next step. And it will be even more interesting. The mansion has more to reveal, more to teach. And I believe you and Lila are exactly the right people to discover it. As they left the mansion and walked back home, Ethan couldn't help but think about what had just happened. The mansion was not just a building, it was alive with purpose. It had tested them, guided them, and shown them a glimpse of human potential that he had never imagined. Dad, Lila whispered as they reached their front yard. I think this mansion is special, like it's alive. It is alive, Ethan agreed softly. Not like a person, but alive with ideas, with purpose. And somehow, it recognizes us. That night, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He thought about the holographic globe, the glowing nodes, and Lila's laughter. He thought about Isolde's words that humans have a gift that machines cannot replicate, and that he had already begun to unlock it. He realized something profound. The world outside their quiet neighborhood was much larger than he had imagined. And perhaps, just perhaps, his small acts of creativity and care were part of something much bigger. Something that could matter not just for him and Lila, but for humanity. Outside, across the street, the mansion gleamed under the moonlight, its windows shimmering like stars. It seemed to watch them, waiting for the next day, the next challenge, the next discovery. And Ethan, for the first time in a long time, felt ready to step into the unknown. Tomorrow, he thought, would be even more extraordinary. The next morning, Ethan Parker woke up with a strange excitement. Even the birds outside seemed louder, singing in a rhythm that matched his racing thoughts. He glanced at Lila, who was already dressed and bouncing on the bed. "Dad, come on," she called. "Today, we're going back to the mansion. I can't wait." Ethan smiled, rubbing his eyes. "I know, kiddo. I'm coming. Let's have breakfast first, though, before we step into the land of wonders again." As they walked to the mansion that afternoon, Ethan felt a mixture of anticipation and curiosity. He had already learned that this place was unlike anything else. But today, he sensed, they would go even deeper. When they arrived, Isolde was waiting at the door, as if she had known exactly when they would arrive. She smiled warmly. "Ethan, Lila, welcome back." "We're ready," Ethan said, taking a deep breath. Lila tugged his hand eagerly. "Good," Isolde said, leading them inside. "Today, you'll see parts of the mansion that even few people ever experience. And you'll begin to understand why I called you." Inside, the mansion seemed more alive than ever. Soft light flowed through the halls, changing in color as they moved. The floating gardens from yesterday were now filled with tiny shimmering creatures, delicate and glowing. Each one responded to their presence, moving around them with gentle curiosity. "Wow," Lila whispered. "They're like little stars." "Yes," Isolde said. "This mansion is not just a home. It is a living library of knowledge, experience, and discovery. And it has chosen to share itself with you because it sees something unique in humans, especially in you, Ethan." Ethan felt a mix of awe and nervousness. It chose us? Not in the way you think," Isolde explained. "It responds to human creativity, empathy, and insight. The mansion has many systems, but it recognizes the human mind as the key to unlocking its full potential. That is why you are here, and that is why Lila is here as well. Even the youngest minds can see patterns that adults often miss." Lila giggled, spinning around. "I want to see everything." Isolde led them into a grand hall with a high ceiling, where a series of holographic panels hovered mid-air. Each panel displayed scenes from different parts of the world: cities, forests, oceans, and even remote villages. Tiny figures moved within each scene, interacting with their surroundings. "This," Isolde said, "is the mansion's observational network. It sees the world and learns from it. But it does not act alone. It relies on human minds to interpret, to guide, to solve problems that cannot be solved by logic alone." Ethan moved closer to a panel showing a small village with a river that had dried up. "So, we help?" he asked. "In a sense," Isolde said. "You will interact with simulations first. You'll learn how to recognize patterns, find solutions, and see the consequences of your choices. Tomorrow, you may begin applying some of these lessons outside the mansion." Lila's eyes widened. "Like real magic?" "Not magic," Isolde said with a gentle laugh. "Human creativity." They moved on to the next room, where the mansion displayed more extraordinary things. There was a library with books that hovered in the air, moving slowly toward them as they entered. Ethan reached out and touched one. It opened instantly, displaying glowing letters that rearranged themselves according to his understanding. Lila reached for another book, and it expanded into a small holographic story, complete with characters that spoke and moved. "This is amazing," Lila exclaimed. "It's like the stories are alive." "Yes," Isolde said, "and the mansion learns from each interaction. Every question, every choice, every observation adds to its knowledge. That is why human insight is so important. Machines can calculate, predict, and organize, but only humans can create meaning from experience." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest. He had spent years trying to teach Lila to think, to be curious, to notice details others missed. And now, in this mansion, all of that mattered in a way he had never imagined. "Today," Isolde said, "you will begin your first real challenge within the mansion itself. It is not dangerous, but it will require attention, patience, and teamwork. Are you ready?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, we're ready." They entered a room with a circular floor made of translucent panels. In the center hovered a glowing, floating cube. Each face of the cube displayed intricate patterns, constantly shifting and changing. Tiny lights moved along the edges, like streams of energy. This is the mansion puzzle, Isolde explained. It is designed to test human ingenuity. Machines can process patterns endlessly, but only a human mind can make connections that are not immediately obvious. Your task is to stabilize the cube, aligning the patterns in a way that creates harmony. Ethan frowned. Stabilize it? How? You must observe carefully, Isolde said. Notice the movements, the colors, and how the streams interact. Think creatively. There is more than one solution, but only the one that balances all aspects of the cube will fully succeed. Lila stepped forward, her small hands reaching out. Can we try together, Daddy? Ethan smiled. Yes, together. For the next hour, they worked with the cube. Ethan suggested strategies based on patterns he noticed. Lila pointed out movements and colors he had missed. Sometimes the cube seemed to reject their attempts, rearranging itself in ways that frustrated them, but each failure brought new understanding. They talked, debated, and adjusted their approach constantly. Slowly, the cube began to respond. Patterns aligned. Streams of energy flowed smoothly along the edges. Colors harmonized. The cube pulsed with a warm light, stabilizing completely. It's working, Lila exclaimed. Yes, Ethan said, his voice filled with amazement. We did it. Isolde clapped softly. Excellent work. You have solved the first mansion puzzle. Notice how your combined human insight, observation, creativity, and collaboration achieved what no machine could alone. This is the principle the mansion was built to honor. Ethan looked at Lila, who was glowing with excitement. We make a good team, he said. Yes, Isolde agreed. Humans excel when they work together, when curiosity and imagination guide their actions. The mansion exists to amplify these qualities, to teach, to test, and to recognize the unique power of the human mind. Ethan realized something profound. The mansion was more than a building filled with technology. It was a living teacher, a guide, and a reflection of humanity's potential. And somehow, it had chosen them to begin the journey. You've seen only a fraction of what this mansion can do, Isolde said, but even this small experience reveals the power of human insight. Tomorrow, you will face another challenge. One that will stretch your understanding even further. And through each step, you will begin to see how humans can shape the world, not with force, but with creativity and thought. Lila hugged Ethan tightly. Daddy, I want to learn everything. Can we stay here? Forever? Ethan laughed softly, holding her. We'll learn as much as we can. Kiddo. One day at a time. Isolde smiled at them both. The mansion is patient. It waits for those who are willing to explore, to think, to imagine. And it sees potential in you, Ethan, and in Lila. That is why you are here. As they left the mansion that evening, Ethan felt a strange mixture of awe and responsibility. He understood now that the mansion was not just a place of wonder, it was a test, a teacher, and a mirror. And he and Lila had passed the first step. That night, Ethan lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. He thought about the glowing cube, the floating books, and the mansion's gardens alive with tiny shimmering creatures. He realized something profound. The mansion had opened a door to a world of possibility, and it had chosen him and Lila to walk through it. Outside, the mansion gleamed under the moonlight. Its walls seemed to shimmer with a soft, inviting glow, as if it were encouraging them to return, to explore, and to discover even more. Ethan knew one thing for certain. The journey had only just begun. And tomorrow, he and Lila would take the next step into the mansion's mysteries, ready to unlock more of humanity's hidden potential. The morning sunlight peeked through the curtains, painting golden streaks across Ethan Parker's bedroom. Lila was already awake, bouncing on the bed like a small spring. Dad, today we go back to the mansion. I can't wait, she exclaimed, her excitement spilling over. Ethan chuckled, sitting on the edge of the bed. I know, kiddo. Yesterday was amazing, wasn't it? Yeah. But today is going to be even better. I just know it, Lila said, her eyes sparkling. Ethan smiled, feeling the same anticipation. The mansion had already shown them wonders, puzzles, and possibilities. But he knew today would challenge them in new ways. Something told him this day would push both of them to their limits in the best way. By the afternoon, they were walking across the quiet street toward the mansion. The towering structure gleamed under the sunlight, its walls reflecting the bright day like polished silver. Ethan felt a mixture of curiosity, excitement, and nervousness. The mansion had already revealed a small fraction of its secrets. What would they encounter today? When they arrived, Isolde was waiting by the door, her serene smile giving him a sense of calm. "Ethan, Lila," she said warmly. "Welcome back. Are you ready for today's challenge?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. We're ready." "Good," she said. "Today, you'll see more than just the mansion's wonders. You will begin to understand its connection to the outside world, and you will learn just how valuable human insight can be." They entered the mansion, and Ethan immediately noticed that the air felt different. It wasn't colder or warmer, but lighter, as if the mansion itself recognized their arrival. The floating gardens shimmered faintly, and tiny lights moved along the walls in intricate patterns, responding to their presence. "This is extraordinary," Ethan whispered to Lila. "Yes," Lila said. "It's like the house is alive." "Exactly," Isolde replied. "And today, it will teach you something very important." They walked into a large observation room. In the center floated a three-dimensional holographic map of their city. Roads, buildings, parks, and rivers glowed softly. Tiny dots represented people moving about. And as Ethan watched, the dots shifted in ways that reflected patterns of activity and behavior. "This is the mansion's urban network," Isolde explained. "It observes cities, communities, and environments. But it is not meant to replace human judgment. Machines can analyze patterns, yes, but only humans can understand the meaning behind them, see opportunities, and create solutions." Ethan leaned closer, studying the map. "In a sense," Isolde said, "your challenge today is to use your insight to restore balance to the network. Some areas of the city have issues that need solving. You will use the tools here to analyze, plan, and create solutions. The mansion will guide you, but the ideas must come from you." Lila clutched his hand. "Wow! We get to help people. For real?" "Yes," Ethan said, feeling pride and determination. "Let's do it." Isolde guided them to a console with interactive panels. Each panel displayed a different part of the city. One showed a park where trees were withering, another a school struggling with overcrowded classrooms, and yet another a river clogged with debris. "The panels will respond to your actions," Isolde said. "Observe carefully, propose solutions, and see how the system reacts. Remember, there is no single correct answer. Human creativity is the key." Ethan studied the first panel, the park with the withering trees. He noticed that the problem wasn't just lack of water. It was also uneven sunlight and poor soil management. He suggested redesigning the park layout, planting new species that could thrive in different sunlight zones, and installing automated irrigation systems that could adjust to weather changes. Lila pointed out that some areas could include small gardens where children could learn about plants. "We can make it fun too, Daddy," she said. "Yes," Ethan agreed. "Fun and useful." They implemented their ideas, and the panel responded immediately. Trees began to bloom, flowers sprouted, and tiny animated people started enjoying the park. Lila squealed with delight. "It worked! Look, Daddy! They're happy." Ethan felt a surge of satisfaction. "This is amazing. Our ideas, they actually worked." They moved to the second panel, the overcrowded school. Ethan realized the problem wasn't just the number of students. It was also scheduling, resources, and space utilization. He proposed reorganizing class times, creating flexible learning spaces, and using technology to supplement lessons. Lila suggested setting up activity corners where kids could learn through games and teamwork. "They'll love it," she said. As they applied their solutions, the panel transformed. Students moved freely, interacting with teachers and each other in balanced ways. Ethan could see the result of their collaboration in real time. "Human insight," Isolde said softly, "is powerful because it considers not just efficiency, but empathy, imagination, and the well-being of others." The final panel displayed the river, clogged with debris. Ethan studied it carefully. He knew cleaning the river wasn't enough. They had to prevent future problems too. He proposed building filtration systems along the waterway, planting natural buffers to reduce erosion, and creating community awareness programs to keep the river clean. Lila had an idea too. "We can make little bridges and paths along the river. People can enjoy it while helping to protect it." Ethan smiled. "Yes. That combines utility with happiness. Great idea, kiddo." They implemented the changes. The river began to flow smoothly, surrounded by greenery, with small animated people enjoying the pathways and bridges. The system pulsed with approval, showing that the challenge was complete. Isolde clapped softly. "Excellent. You have successfully completed today's challenge. Observe how human creativity, empathy, and insight achieved what machines alone could not. This is the essence of the mansion's teaching." Ethan looked at Lila, whose eyes shone with excitement and pride. "We really did it," he said. "Yes," Isolde agreed. "And tomorrow, you will face even greater challenges. Ones that will test not only your intelligence, but also your ability to understand connections beyond the mansion." As they walked back home that evening, Ethan reflected on what they had accomplished. The mansion was teaching them something deeper than puzzles and games. It was teaching them how human ingenuity could make a difference in the world. "You know, Lila," he said as they crossed the street, "what we did today, it wasn't just for fun. It actually made the city better. Even if it's a simulation, it shows how we can think differently and help people." Lila nodded. "I know, Daddy. And I want to do more. I want to help real people too." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of pride and hope. "We will, kiddo. Step by step. One challenge at a time." That night, as Ethan lay in bed, he thought about the mansion, the city, and the power of human insight. He realized that the mansion wasn't just a place of wonder, it was a mirror, reflecting what humans were capable of when creativity, empathy, and intelligence worked together. Outside, the mansion gleamed under the moonlight, its walls shimmering softly. Tiny lights moved across its surfaces like fireflies, as if encouraging them to return, to explore, and to discover even more. Ethan understood one thing clearly. Humanity had potential that went far beyond what he had imagined. And through their time at the mansion, he and Lila were beginning to unlock it. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, greater lessons, and deeper understanding. But for tonight, Ethan allowed himself a rare feeling, a sense of pride, excitement, and hope for the future. The mansion had shown them the power of human ingenuity, and Ethan knew that their journey was only beginning. The morning sun spilled gold across Ethan Parker's small kitchen. Lila was already up, excited as ever, bouncing on her tiptoes. "Dad, today we get to do the real thing. I can feel it," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Ethan smiled, feeling the same nervous excitement. For the past few days, the mansion had revealed wonders, puzzles, and lessons that had stretched both his mind and Lila's. But today, Isolde had hinted, they would take the next step, applying what they had learned to the real world. "Let's get ready, kiddo," Ethan said. "Today, we make a difference." They crossed the quiet street to the mansion, whose white walls gleamed like polished marble under the sunlight. The air seemed alive, buzzing softly with the mansion's presence. Tiny lights moved across the gardens, guiding their steps as if recognizing their arrival. "Good morning, Ethan, Lila," Isolde said warmly. "Today's challenges are real. You will apply the lessons you've learned to help the community. Remember, Human insight is your greatest tool. Empathy, creativity, and collaboration are what machines cannot replicate. Ethan nodded. We're ready. Lila held his hand tightly. Excellent, Isolde said. Follow me. Inside the mansion, they entered the observation room again. The holographic city map hovered in the center, just like before, but this time it displayed not simulations, but real-time data. Schools, parks, rivers, and neighborhoods were alive with tiny glowing dots, representing people, animals, and nature. The mansion had connected its systems to the world outside, and now, Ethan and Lila could interact in real time. This is amazing, Ethan whispered. We're actually seeing the real world. Two. Yes, Isolde said. And today, you will help shape it. The mansion provides the tools, but your ideas, your creativity, and your empathy will guide the solutions. Lila's eyes shone. We get to help real people, Daddy. Yes, sweetheart, Ethan said, smiling down at her. And we're going to do it together. Isolde gestured to 3 panels displaying challenges across the city. The first showed a neglected community park, overgrown and unused. The second depicted a small school struggling with limited resources. The third displayed a polluted river affecting nearby neighborhoods. Choose one to start, Isolde instructed. Ethan studied the panels carefully. Let's start with the park, he said. It's a place where people can come together, and improving it could make a big difference. They approached the panel. Ethan noticed that the park's trees were overgrown, pathways were cracked, and playground equipment was worn out. He suggested redesigning the park layout, planting new species, and creating areas where children could play and learn about nature. Lila chimed in. We can add little gardens. People can plant flowers and vegetables, and kids can help take care of them. Yes, Ethan said. It combines beauty, learning, and fun. The panel responded instantly, visualizing the changes. Trees straightened, new paths appeared, playgrounds were refurbished, and community gardens blossomed. Tiny animated people moved into the park, laughing, gardening, and playing. Lila clapped her hands. It worked, Daddy. Look. Yes, Ethan said, feeling pride and joy. Our ideas. They actually worked. Isolde smiled. Observe, Ethan. Machines can implement actions, but only humans can decide what truly benefits people. Your insight matters. Next, they turned to the school panel. Ethan noticed overcrowded classrooms, missing supplies, and a lack of engaging activities for students. We need flexible learning spaces, Ethan said. Technology can supplement lessons, but kids also need hands-on experiences. Lila added. Activity corners. Kids can play and learn at the same time. They implemented the changes, and the panel transformed. Classrooms adjusted in size. Supplies appeared, and children interacted happily. The simulation showed improved learning, cooperation, and creativity. Ethan realized the impact. Even small changes can make a huge difference, he said. Yes, Isolde said softly. And that is the power of human ingenuity. Machines can calculate efficiency, but only humans can see the meaning behind actions and create solutions that inspire growth. The final panel displayed the polluted river. Ethan studied it carefully. The water was filled with debris, and the surrounding banks were barren. We can't just clean the river, Ethan said. We need to prevent future problems too. Let's design filtration systems, plant buffers along the riverbanks, and create awareness programs for the community, Lila suggested. And we can make walking paths with benches. People will enjoy it and help keep it clean. Ethan smiled. Perfect. That's exactly the balance we need: utility, beauty, and community involvement. They implemented the ideas. The river's water cleared, greenery sprouted along the banks, and animated people strolled along paths, enjoying the area. The mansion's system pulsed with approval, acknowledging their success. Excellent work, Isolde said. You have applied human insight, creativity, and empathy to the real world. This is the essence of what the mansion seeks to teach. Machines can follow instructions, but only humans can truly improve the world through thoughtful, caring action. Ethan looked at Lila, whose face glowed with excitement and pride. "We really did it," he said. "Yes," Isolde agreed, "and this is only the beginning. The mansion will continue to guide you, but the lessons you have learned here, curiosity, empathy, observation, creativity, can be applied anywhere, anytime. Humans have the power to shape the world, not through force, but through imagination, insight, and care." As they walked back home that evening, Ethan felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The mansion had not only revealed wonders and challenges but had also shown them a profound truth. Humans have abilities that no machine can replicate. Insight, creativity, and empathy were their greatest strengths. "Dad," Lila said, tugging at his hand, "we helped real people today. I want to do more tomorrow." Ethan smiled. "Yes, kiddo. One step at a time. But today we've learned something important. Even small actions can change the world." That night, Ethan lay in bed, reflecting on everything. The mansion, the city, the puzzles, and the holographic challenges. It had all been a journey of discovery. He realized that humanity's potential was limitless. Machines could analyze, predict, and perform tasks. But humans could create meaning, connect with others, and improve the world in ways no algorithm could. Outside, across the street, the mansion glimmered under the moonlight. Its walls shimmered like liquid silver, and tiny lights moved across its surfaces. It seemed to be smiling, encouraging Ethan and Lila to continue their journey. Ethan understood now. This mansion had not only revealed its wonders but had also revealed a truth about humanity. Humans had an extraordinary power. The power to think, to care, to imagine, and to create solutions that made life better for everyone. Lila rolled over in her sleep, murmuring happily. Ethan smiled, feeling hope and determination. They had learned the mansion's lessons and applied them. Tomorrow, they would learn more, and someday, they would use what they had learned to help not just their community, but perhaps even the world. In that quiet moment, Ethan felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: pride. Not just for himself, but for his daughter, for humanity, and for the endless possibilities ahead. The mansion across the street glimmered softly, a beacon of learning, discovery, and hope. And Ethan knew, with certainty, that this was only the beginning of a bright, extraordinary future for humans. They had discovered the mansion of wonders, solved its puzzles, and applied its lessons. And now, humanity's potential was more visible than ever. A potential driven by creativity, empathy, and intelligence, shining as brightly as the mansion itself. The stars twinkled above, reflecting the glimmer of the mansion, as if the universe itself recognized the spark of human ingenuity. And for Ethan and Lila, that spark would guide them forward, into challenges, adventures, and discoveries that would shape not just their lives, but the world around them. Tomorrow, and every day after, would be a new dawn for humanity.